Did you ever hear the expression, it's a shot in the dark? People use that expression when they have to take a guess or make an estimate with absolutely no assurance that it's going to work out. Sometimes in business, we have to take a shot in the dark, moving into an unknown market or investing in a new product hoping customers will buy. You do your best. You get your data, you talk to people, you plan appropriately, and if you execute well, hopefully it's a success. The one place you don't want to take a shot in the dark is when you're hiring a new employee. It takes a lot of time and effort to find the right person. To have them not work out, or worse, be disappointed in your organization and leave, creates unnecessary frustration and expense. That's where PXT Select comes in. Just like other business decisions, PXT Select gives you the data you need to make the right decisions when you're hiring people. I'm Amy Pearl from Work Ignited, and in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you how easy it is to use the PXT Select Comprehensive Selection Report to shine a light on your hiring decisions. At a high level, the PXT Select process is pretty straightforward. You start by identifying the ideal profile for a position. We call this a performance model. In essence, you establish targets for a candidate's critical thinking skills, personality or behavioral traits, and career or motivational interests. Then, the candidate spends about 45 minutes answering an online questionnaire. You then have the option to run over a dozen reports from just that one assessment. Today, we're just focusing on the Comprehensive Selection Report, but my other videos showcase other reports you can use for onboarding, coaching, team building, succession planning, or more. Now here's a super nice feature. You don't have to pay for an assessment until you actually run your first report, which means you don't have to waste time in the recruiting process. Have your candidates complete the questionnaire early in the process so the data is ready when you are. Although we have an expert practitioner certification course, most people find they don't need it to understand the comprehensive selection report. In fact, download the sample from the notes section below and see it for yourself. The report is divided into 3 sections: a snapshot of the candidate's overall fit, a detailed comparison to the performance model, and my favorite part, suggested interview questions. Let's take a look at the snapshot of the candidate's overall fit. You can see the snapshot is divided into 3 parts. Thinking style measures the candidate's verbal and numeric reasoning and skills. The assessment seeks to understand if the candidate knows the meaning of words and if the candidate can complete analogies like cat is to meow as dog is to woof. Okay, that's not really a question, but they're kind of like that. Many candidates report that the math section is tough. That's because the system uses an adaptive testing process where it starts you at a question of medium difficulty, and then it pushes you to the point of failure. It only asks the easy questions if you can't master the mid-levels. That keeps the candidate from becoming fatigued during the testing process. Behavioral traits are personality traits. Some of you are familiar with the Big 5 model of personality. Much of this section is based on that same model. This measures things like a candidate's level of urgency and assertiveness, how much they like to socialize and rely on others, how trusting they are by nature, and if they make decisions using their head or their gut. The interest section helps you understand a candidate's career interests and their motivators. Are they on a creative path, an enterprising path? Perhaps they like hands-on or technical work. This snapshot shows you how closely the candidate score fits the desired performance model. There are hundreds of researched performance models already in the system, or you can create your own. I like to have high performers complete the PXT Select to understand what makes them tick. Then merge that with a library model to customize a performance model just for your organization. On the right, you can see the percentage that shows how closely the candidate matched the performance model. Our candidate, Oliver Chase, has a 79% fit for thinking skills and a 72% fit for interests. No one is ever a 100% perfect match. Generally, 70% and up is pretty good. You can see that Oliver only has a 59% fit for behavioral traits. He's a little more assertive and factual while being a little less decisive and accommodating as the performance model requires. At the top, you can see that he has a 70% match or a fit to the ideal performance model. The next section provides all the details. For every characteristic, it shows where Oliver fits, it explains the qualities of the ideal candidate, and it explains how you might experience Oliver on the job. Now, as with any candidate screening tool, an assessment should not be the sole basis of your hire, no hire decision. Factor in what you learned by reviewing his experience, conducting interviews, or speaking with references. Talking about interviews and reference checks, let's take a look at my favorite section of the report. Here you'll see recommended interview questions. For each characteristic, you'll see how Oliver compared to the performance model, suggested interview questions, and even recommendations for what to listen to in his answers. We know that many managers and hiring panels are not expert interviewers. The PXT Select Comprehensive Selection Report makes it almost foolproof to ensure candidates are asked the right questions and we listen for the right answers. Plus, it builds consistency in your hiring process. Since dozens of questions are provided, the report divides them into 3 sections. First, you'll see challenge areas. This is where Oliver didn't match the profile. Remember, he was overly assertive and more factual in his decision making? Here's an interesting consideration for you. When we looked at Oliver's snapshot, his verbal skills were higher than the performance model requires. Now, you might think that's a good thing, but sometimes it's not. Did you ever work with someone who was just too smart? Someone who was always 5 or 10 steps ahead so the rest of the group couldn't keep up? That's why it's important to design your performance models carefully, and we're always available to help with that process. Now, if the critical thinking part of the assessment scares you, you don't have to use that section. You can just assess for the behavioral traits and the interests. Getting back to the report, after the challenge areas, questions are provided for strength areas. Use these questions to validate that the candidate actually demonstrates the strengths on the job. Finally, questions for the remaining scales are provided. The PXT Select Comprehensive Selection Report is just that. It's comprehensive. It looks at a candidate's thinking style, behaviors, and interests, and compares them to the ideal for your organization. The report provides a quick snapshot, a detailed comparison to the performance model, and recommended interview questions. It gives you the data to avoid taking that shot in the dark when making hiring decisions. There's even a special version for sales professionals with the interview questions specifically tailored to hiring in a sales role, and a leadership report to understand your candidate's leadership potential based on 6 proven leadership skills. In fact, for the price of just one assessment, you actually can access over a dozen reports to support onboarding, coaching, team building, and more. And the setup is so simple, I can have you up and running in a matter of hours. Would you like to pilot PXT Select for your next new hire? If so, just give us a call or email me at amy@workignited.com and I'll send you your first assessment for free. What are you waiting for? You have nothing to lose, so give me a call. I'm Amy Pearl from Work Ignited. Thank you for joining me.